apparently over the weekend, and I'm not fully informed on this, and one of the main reasons, other than just that, he seems to know so much about so many things and be so well informed. But I was traveling. Friday I was on my way out to L.A. and I spent the weekend up to my eyebrows in climate change video stuff, and I flew home late last night. And I confess I watched the video and I read the news stories, but they really didn't seem to give me the backstory that I wanted, or really what was going on. Kymone Freeman is with us. He's an activist with the D.C. Ferguson and Black Lives Matter D.C. groups, award-winning playwright, program director of We Act Radio, which carries this show, 103.1 FM here in Washington, D.C., the website weactradio.com, and, of course, dcferguson.org. Kymone, welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. But I have to tell you, if Bernie wins the White House, Texas might secede from the Union.
Well, that would not be a problem for me, although we do have a lot of callers and listeners from particularly Austin, but there's some good people in Texas.
Well, we need to find them because, unfortunately, one only has to take a look at what happened in Waco, Texas, with the biker gangs and 9 people being killed, and how the police handled that situation with the alleged perp sitting with the police, waiting for an outcome of the preliminary investigation. It was very civilized and very cordial and friendly. And then the police are called in for a pool party, and we see them attacking young people and sitting on a young girl. These people have on bikinis and swim trunks, so there was no issue of anyone possibly being armed. And unfortunately, the initial reports are that 20 people were handcuffed.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't believe anybody was handcuffed during the Waco, Texas shooting, at least on the reports that we've seen. But 20 people were handcuffed, but only one arrest was made, which really constitutes a false arrest.
So an out-of-control group of white people kill a whole bunch of people and fire hundreds and hundreds of shots, or at least hundreds of shots, and the police sit them down and talk with them after things have settled down. On the other hand, they show up at a pool party where now it looked to me like there were both white and black people at the pool party, and only the black people were being
attacked the black kids.
Yeah, only the black kids are being thrown on the ground. Was that because it was actually an integrated pool party, or was that because the white people who were there were the ones who were complaining and called the police on the black kids?
Well, thank goodness that a lot of young white people are not as racist as some of their parents have been. So yes, it was an integrated pool party, and kids are going to party, it's going to get rowdy, and so the police were called. But the reports are saying that there was an older white woman who was making racist statements because she felt there was too many black people at that pool party.
Oh my God, we can't have that.
Yes, and that created an altercation, and allegedly she punched someone, and then the police was called in.
Yeah, we're talking with Kymone Freeman, the activist with D.C. Ferguson and program director at We Act Radio. This is, it seems, about as clear and visible as it gets of the double standard, the racial double standard for policing in the United States, particularly when you compare it to Waco. But, I mean, you can compare it to a million other things. We bring this topic up on the radio here, and I get all these calls from white people who say, yeah, the police stopped me, and they were very courteous, and they were very kind, and said thank you very much, and I was on my way. And black people call and say, yeah, the police stopped me, and they ripped my car apart, and had me spread eagle on the hood, and et cetera, et cetera. It seems like a good thing that this kind of stuff is coming to light now because of this disruptive technology of cell phones. But B, are we doing anything about it?
Well, I have to go back with your callers a little bit first, Tom. The fact is that most of those callers are accurate. They're basically telling you the stories of their experiences. Most white people in this country are not actually racist themselves. It's their own experiences that they're relating with. They cannot relate with the black experience on how police officers are treating us on a daily basis. Right. And we've been trying to show them with the entire Black Lives Movement the incredible disparity and police brutality when it comes to communities of color.
Right.
The fact of the matter remains is that if you look at this tape, you will see none of the white children have been approached by police. In fact, white children actually came to the aid of the young black girl that was thrown to the ground, and this grown man sat on her back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we're trying to paint.
Do we know, Kymone, do we know who the obese white guy was who keeps showing up in the shots? It almost looked like he might have been a police officer, an off-duty police officer. My initial assumption was that he was one of the complainants because the cops kind of ignored him or deferred to him, and yet he was right in the middle of it all.
Yeah, he didn't appear to be a police officer to me. At least he wasn't armed as a police officer. And I can assure you in Texas, any one of them would not go anywhere without their firearm. But I think he was one of the complainants because, again, the police were responding to a call of an altercation.
Right.
But the fact remains is that if he had been a big black guy, I can assure you there wouldn't have been a deference to him.
Yeah, it would have been a whole different outcome, as the ghost of Eric Garner can tell us.
Another notch in the belt of the claims for the call for police reform or how we do policing in America.
Yeah, I think that the consensus that is beginning to develop now, which I'm sure developed a long time ago in the black community, but the white community I think is starting to wake up to the fact that the kind of policing that they have in Northern Europe, for example, or in the rest of the developed world, let's say, where police officers are paid well, they have a high level of professionalism is expected of them, they are held accountable. Actually, here, Danielle just handed me this, South Carolina police officer indicted in the Walter Scott killing. Interesting, this is apparently breaking news. A grand jury indicted the guy on murder in North Charleston, the murder of Walter Scott.
That might be a historic case right there because we don't have any record of any officer being convicted of murder of a black or brown person in the history of America.
Wow! Say that again.
We don't have a case, and I haven't found one. I challenge your audience to find one of a police officer being convicted of murder of an unarmed black or brown person in the history of America.
In the history of America.
Yes, and it does. And the Rampart Division of LAPD doesn't count because it was involved with criminal activity. We're talking about an officer allegedly officiating his duties. Yeah,
well, that was basically bad cops who had a little organized crime thing going.
Right.
As opposed to individual cops. So you're saying in the history of the United States, white cops have been killing black people forever. I mean, literally from the beginning of this republic. And no white cop has ever been successfully prosecuted for the murder of a black person, an unarmed black person.
Yeah, well, I've been looking for that case. I'd like to find one if anyone can help us.
Astonishing. So this officer in the Walter Scott killing, this could be, that's amazing. Kymone Freeman, great talking with you, and thanks so much for dropping by.
Great show, Tom, as always.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. WeActRadio.com.